Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Zoran Mamdani seem to be trying on YIMBY politics. YIMBY, yes in my backyard, pro-building, pro-development politics. There were two big addresses that took place in New York politics just recently. You had Mamdani's inauguration address, followed by his first couple weeks in office, and you had Kathy Hochul's State of the State address as she begins the budget season and as she enters re-election later this year against Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. In both cases, Hochul and Mamdani seem to be addressing the abundance agenda and the affordability crisis here in New York. For years, New York politics has been marked by tenant-first, anti-developer politics, but it seems like New York is changing its tune. Those who've been following Mamdani will argue that he has been an abundance candidate all along. People who have followed Hochul's career are not shocked by this either, and it seems like they are aligning in their priority of building more capacity. Both in Mamdani's inauguration and in Hochul's address, both use the word abundance, a term that comes from Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson's book Abundance. And really, the goal is to build more state capacity in order to drive down the cost of living here in New York. Hochul seems to believe that New York cannot regulate its way to affordability, that we need to, if we want cheaper housing, we need to build more housing. And so she's pushing for, reforms to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. This is the environmental reviews that tend to hold up new developments of construction in New York State. She's exempting most housing from the environmental law reviews, streamlining approvals and reducing red tape with regards to development. And so she announced this big environmental review reduction. She also announced the expansion of nuclear capacity. New York will target 5 gigawatts of new nuclear power, which is a major expansion from the 3.4 gigawatts that New York currently does. New York law requires 100% of zero-emission renewable energy by 2040. So this is towards that. For Mamdani, he is still focused on tenant protections and landlord enforcement, and he is still focused on the freeze the rent campaign. However, if we're going to meaningfully reduce the cost of housing in New York City, he knows that we need to also build capacity. That's not just on the public housing side, but it's also on market rate apartment units as well. And so he has pushed through a lot of executive actions about cutting red tape on the city side, fast-tracking housing through executive action. He also just announced that he is going to have each city agency come up with a comprehensive inventory of all fees and civil penalties that small businesses in New York City pay in order to reduce and cut some of these fines and fees that so many small businesses do in order to reduce the cost of living, cost of services in New York. New York is finally admitting the truth, which is that you can't fix a housing shortage without building more housing. You cannot regulate your way out of the affordability crisis here in New York, and we need to unleash the private sector to start to build more. That's on the housing side. On the energy side, you can't lower energy bills without building more energy capacity. And so that's where you see Hochul really doubling down on nuclear energy here in New York. Hochul is pushing the state to cut the red tape. We will see what Mamdani's long-term effect here is. It's still early with Mamdani. We still don't really know where his priorities lay, but it seems like he without abandoning tenant protections, he wants to try to build faster, which you have different politics between Hochul and Mamdani, but the same reality. The pro-building era seems to have just arrived in New York. We will see as this campaign season, as this political season begins in 2026 in New York, what will take place with Hochul and Mamdani.